Welcome to today's explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to be talking about a genuinely powerful idea from our devotional today. It's a concept called heart keeping. Now, I want you to use your imagination for a second. Picture yourself as the lead commander of a massive, super important fortress. You've got these huge stone walls, heavy iron gates, and you, yes, you, are in charge of deciding exactly what gets to come inside and what absolutely has to stay outside. Well, that is exactly the adventure we're going on today as we explore what it actually means to guard your heart fortress.
But first, let's make this super real. Let me ask you a question, and hey, I want you to be totally honest with me here. Have you ever spoken grumpy, impatient words at home? Maybe snapping at your mom, your dad, or a sibling when they asked you to do your chores, clean your room, or, gasp, turn off your video games? Yeah, we've literally all been there. But what the devotional helps us understand is that those grumpy, snappy moments, they aren't just little accidents. They're actually loud sirens. They are symptoms that the control room inside your fortress has been left totally unguarded, and an enemy has snuck right past the gates. The devotional bases this whole exciting idea on a really famous verse from the Bible. It says, "Keep thy heart with all diligence, for out of it are the issues of life." That's Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. Now, to do something with diligence means you work really, really hard at it. You don't get lazy, and you absolutely do not give up. It means our heart is like a super important fortress, and we need to be the brave, diligent guards stationed right at the gates, keeping watch every single day. Which brings us to section 1. What is heart keeping? The control room of our thoughts. Let's unpack exactly what the devotional means by the specific phrase, heart keeping. So the crucial point is that when the devotional talks about the heart, it isn't talking about that literal muscle pumping blood inside your chest. Actually, scratch that. It's more like the central command center. It's the control room of your thoughts, your feelings, and your deepest passions. Heart keeping is defined as the diligent discipline of keeping our thoughts, words, and actions clean, and doing it entirely with Jesus' help. It's basically making sure the good stuff stays inside the control room and the bad stuff gets locked out for good. Moving right along to section 2, cleaning the messy heart, asking for a sweep up. Okay, so here's the tricky part. Sometimes, no matter how hard we try to be good guards, our fortress control room gets extremely messy. And the devotional brilliantly illustrates the difference between a messy fortress and a perfectly clean one. It tells us that in its natural state, the heart is a habitation, which is just a fancy word for a home, for unholy thoughts and sinful passions. Basically, before we get help, our control room is just full of muddy footprints, junk wrappers, and bad attitudes. But when the heart is brought into subjection to Christ, it reaches a cleansed state. That means Jesus comes in with the ultimate cleaning crew, sweeping away all the defilement and dirt, making the whole room sparkle. But here is a massive detail you absolutely need to remember. The Holy Spirit cannot cleanse our hearts without our consent. Consent just means giving permission. You see, Jesus is a perfect gentleman. He's not going to bash down the heavy wooden doors of your fortress and force his way in to clean up the mess against your will. No way. You have to invite him. You have to hand him the keys and say, "Please, Jesus, I give you my consent. Come clean up my messy control room." Section 3, guarding words and actions, keeping the bad stuff out. Okay, so once you've invited Jesus in and the room is sparkling clean, our job completely changes. We step up and become the tough guard standing right at the front door. Let's see how this builds into our daily routine. The devotional lays out 3 big steps for guarding the fortress once it's clean. Number 1, abandon daily sins. This means actively breaking loose from those bad habits that try to hold us hostage. 2, show thoughtful care in your choice of words. You got to think before you speak. And 3, guard your actions in his strength. This is exactly how we bring Christ-likeness into our homes every single day. We don't just act like good guards at church. We practice this right in our own living rooms, kitchens, and backyards. Remember those grumpy words we talked about at the very beginning of this explainer? Well, the devotional warns us specifically that fretful, impatient words actually stir up the worst passions of the human heart. When you let an impatient, whiny word slip out because you don't want to do your homework, it's like you fell asleep at the guard post. You literally let an enemy sneak right past the gates. And guess what? That enemy causes arguments and trouble for your whole family. We absolutely need the abiding presence of Christ to keep those words locked out. And that leads us to section 4, calling for heavenly backup, using your prayer walkie-talkie.
So, what exactly do you do when those grumpy, bad habits try to sneak back into your fortress? Because trust me, they will try. Well, the devotional tells us about a secret weapon. It says we must be instant in prayer for assistance. I absolutely love this phrase. Being instant in prayer is exactly like grabbing a walkie talkie right off your belt and hitting the button to call for immediate heavenly backup. The very second you feel tempted to be mean to your sibling, or talk back to your parents, or tell a fib, you just use that prayer walkie talkie in your mind to say, Jesus, I need backup right now. Help me guard the gates. The devotional also says we should be unwearied in petitioning the throne of grace. Let's translate those big words so we know exactly what our orders are. Unwearied means never ever getting tired. Petitioning means asking or pleading. And the throne of grace is God's ultimate command center. So, the devotional is basically telling you, never get tired of radioing the command center to ask God for help. Come to him in earnestness and humility, because you know what? He never ever gets annoyed when you call him for backup. Now, obviously, you can't walk around on your knees praying out loud all day long while you're sitting at your desk at school or playing soccer or eating dinner with your family. But the devotional makes a really beautiful point. Even if we can't always be in the physical position of prayer, our thoughts and desires can always be upward. You can keep the antenna of your walkie-talkie pointed up toward Jesus all day long. You can always have that quiet upward connection no matter what activity you're doing. Section 5. Winning the Christian race. Training like an athlete. Let's look at one more amazing comparison the devotional gives us. It compares the Christian life to a massive, exciting race. But it comes with a serious warning. If we don't discipline our minds, guard our hearts, and keep our focus on heavenly things, our efforts become lazy and languid. We run the Christian race slowly. The author even uses words like indolence and sloth, comparing an unguarded heart to that super slow animal hanging out in a tree. If we don't exercise our heart-keeping muscles, the devotional says we actually become dwarfs in spiritual attainments, which means our spiritual growth completely gets stunted. Now, what's genuinely amazing here is looking at all the benefits you get when you do successfully train your mind. These are straight from the devotional. Keeping your thoughts upward gives vigor, which is kind of like super strength, to all your graces. It puts life and awesome energy into your everyday duties, turning boring chores and homework into something you actually do for God. It increases your knowledge of the Son of God. And ultimately, it helps you grow up strong unto a perfect man, completely mature in him. Training your mind to focus on heaven literally turns you into a spiritual champion. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this big, exciting question. What heavenly things will you fix your mind on today? As you go about your day, at school, at home, or on the playground, remember that you are the brave guard of your fortress. Keep your control room clean, don't let those grumpy words sneak past the gate, and keep that prayer walkie-talkie ready in your hand at all times. Challenge yourself to apply this diligent discipline of heart-keeping right now. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Stay guarded, and I literally cannot wait to explore more with you next time.